All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is season 4 of Dads and Ed. We are so thrilled. Guys, I've been sitting around. It's been a great back to school, but I've been thinking, something's missing.
Yep. Yep. I thought the same thing.
Hold on. I forgot I had the YouTube channel up, and I was hearing myself talk again. So anyway, where was I? I missed you guys. It is so great to be back. Welcome, gentlemen. Episode
Yeah,
55.
great to be back. And did you really miss us? I mean, you've had a new one around, and did you really miss us, or is this an extra thing now with the new kid in the house?
Let's be honest. Nobody's watching, so nobody's listening. It's all good. This is the most quiet life's been in a while.
That's good.
So I have missed you guys. Tear?
Me too.
Little tear.
Yeah, me
It's all
too.
good.
I was fine. We were on. Josh and I have been on pre-show for about a half hour, and then last second he tells me my sound is bad, and it's got me panicked now. And I'm, just hoping everything holds up on this side technology-wise.
That's just part of our charm at this point.
True.
Yeah. I was reminiscing, leading up to the show last week or so. Been thinking back. We're on episode 55 tonight. You remember the first shows where I had like 5 megabyte speed and Bob Dylan's doing his cell phone from a basement in San Francisco or something like that? Like, we've come a long way since then.
Absolutely.
I mean, the fact that we're 2 minutes into the show and nothing's crashed, I mean, knock on wood, but that used to never happen.
No,
True.
that's true. You bring up the Bob one. That one was funny because he was, I don't know where it was like he was in Alcatraz. I don't know what he was doing in San Francisco, but that did not work well.
All right, but good for us. We hopefully our guest tonight, Tony Sinanis, will have lightning fast internet. I mean, he's an assistant soup, so you'd think he would.
True. You would think.
That's how they do work.
Mm-hmm.
I hear. If you're just joining us for the first time, that's okay. We don't judge. We're glad that you're here. You can catch up. We'll give you the details on how to catch up on the first 54 in a little bit. My name is Josh Allen. I'm Tech Integration Specialist for the fabulous Lewis Central Community Schools. I now have 4 children. We had a little baby girl about 2.5 weeks ago. Not quite 3 weeks. 2.5 weeks, I guess. So Avery is doing wonderful. She is well above her birth weight and all those other things that you got to measure for. And the kids are super excited to have a baby around the house. Well, they are for about 30 seconds, and they go do something else. But for the most part, everything's going well. Life's good. Excited to be back, gentlemen. Brent.
Yeah, man. Congratulations, Josh, on the
Thank
new
you.
baby. It's awesome. It's always fun to see the pictures and things online and live vicariously through social media with everyone. And my family continues to grow, not in number, but in size and just growth. It's awesome to see. It's so fun to be a dad, and just excited to get back with you guys. My oldest boy started 4th grade. My daughter's in 1st. I got a little guy in preschool now, daily, that I get to take every day, which is super cool in the morning. Incidentally, sidebar here: fantasy football draft last weekend in the Ozarks with the guys. A lot of trash talking, of course. And I Snapchat. I started Snapchatting, which is a big leap for me. And then I send them little snaps with my boy in the back of the car on the way to preschool. And I just have him say one thing, and the guys just love it. So anyway, and then what else? I got a 3-year-old who's in potty training mode, and my wife and I are struggling with that mightily as he pooped on the carpet earlier this evening because we're doing the naked thing with him. That ain't working. Nothing's working with the kid at the moment. And then, so if you got any suggestions, please tell me. And then the other
Use
year and
the
a half year
hashtag
old.
Dads and Ed.
Yes.
Yeah. See, it's been cool too. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I always have that tag on my tweet deck, but I see some other cats kind of chiming in there, and I don't know if they even realize we exist because we've been on break for so long, but it's been nice. I've enjoyed the break, I got to be honest, but I am super thrilled to be back with you guys.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll echo the congrats, Josh. I would say that we were together what month or so ago, and Maddox did not seem thrilled to be having another sister around. I think that was before sister was born. But are you excited to have another sister? Nah, yeah, not really. Um, yeah, so it's good. I think that Josh, you've got Maddox there, and I know how it feels. There are no other males in this house, um, all females, so I feel Maddox's pain too. So, my name is Devin Schoening. I'm the instructional technology something or other at Council Bluffs Community Schools in Council Bluffs, Iowa. My children are in 5th and 7th grade now. Last of the elementary kids. She started her 5th grade year. And maybe we'll talk about what it's like to have a preteen in the house, because that's not always enjoyable. And my wife Erin, who's a lovely wife, best wife you could ask for.
Well put. Well, if you want to connect with us, feel free to tweet at Dads and Ed. If you want to comment on any parts of the show, or even want to give Catlet some potty training advice, feel free to use the hashtag Dads and Ed. You can email us anytime, dadsanded@gmail.com. And if you missed part of the show or want to go back and listen to the other 54 episodes, you can do that 2 different ways. We are still at dadsanded.podbean.com. You can subscribe in iTunes by searching Dads and Ed, or we are part of the Edu Podcast Network. So check us out on their website, edupodnet.com. I am going to double check that was correct here in just a second, and I will correct myself if I need to. And check out all the other great podcasts on there, like Cult of Pedagogy, Techlandia put up a new show. There are some great ones over there. So, as mentioned, kids are back to school. In our house, we have a 3rd grader, a 1st grader, and we just started a 3-year-old preschool today, which was fabulous. So, as your kids are heading to school or back to school, what is your biggest wish as they head back? And those of you that are watching online, head over to Twitter and put yours in the hashtag Dads and Ed. Devin, you want to get started?
Yeah, sure. I think I wrote a post last year at the beginning of the year, kind of articulating some of those things. But I always struggle because we're educators. I think that's part of why we have this podcast. We understand maybe the inner workings. You know how the sausage is made. So you understand all the curriculum and the assessments and all the stuff that goes into it. And I think what it comes down to for me every year is I just want my kids to love being at school. I want them to have great relationships with their teachers. As you get to middle school and high school, you got more than one teacher. So, kind of building all those relationships. I want them to be inspired to think of things and do things. And we've talked on here a lot that, that doesn't always happen at school because of the system, right? So that's mine. I want them to have great relationships with the people that they interact with at school. And I want them to be inspired to want to do and know and learn more things.
Devin, I just, like I told you earlier on Vox, like I love your thoughtfulness and the way your perspective on things. I always learn and grow from you. And I want to shout out Craig Badura, who's watching the show at the moment. And his biggest wish, he says, is just wants time to slow down. It's going way too fast. And shout out to his daughter, who first golf meet took 1st place, shot I think 2 or 3 under, I forget the number, 71 or something crazy.
I think it was 3 under.
Yeah, she's awesome. So is his son. Great family, love those guys, and that's awesome. And I can't imagine, honestly, being in Craig's position as a dad, or even Devin, your kids are older than mine, and what that's like to have so many more years of growth than I have, to watch them grow up. And so I think, I struggle with this one mightily, guys, and I don't want them to play the game of school, and that's my South Omaha talk coming out, but I want them, I don't know, I'm trying to articulate this better, but I'd love to know that their teacher is a connected individual that is bringing things to their classroom they otherwise wouldn't be if they weren't connected, and kind of bringing things to life in different ways instead of just kind of playing the game of school. And I don't care what grade that is, or what subject or content area. I feel like the blessing and the curse of my PLN, the blessing being I learn and grow from it daily, the curse being that I see all these amazing things at all different levels and all different places across the world, and I just wish my kid was in those situations. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of a big dream, but I kind of get up every morning trying to fight that good fight with educators as a whole, and hopefully getting them more connected to perhaps better practices, next practices, if you will, and just, yeah. So I just want them to, like you said, Devin, I agree with you too. I just want them to enjoy going to school and feeling like they're learning something every day.
I would have to agree. Actually, teaser for late in the show. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we're going through at school right now, but just the enjoyment of it. My daughter is one that school comes easy, and she loves it. And as much as I don't like playing the game of school, I was good at it, and I think my daughter's good at it, and I don't think my son is. And that's okay. But as a parent, I have to deal with that and figure that out. So I think just the enjoyment of being there and having those people that can bring that out of them. I'm excited for the teachers that they have this year. They're actually both friends of mine, which is good and bad as well. Like Brent, you're talking about the PLN part of it, and these are people that I've worked with and taught with for a number of years before I moved to my new district. But it's always exciting to see how that group's going to mesh, and they've grown up over the summer, and probably hopefully the teacher has grown too. And I don't know, for me it's always fascinating to watch and walk down that path with them.
Yeah, I agree. It's Jim York just chimed in on Twitter, and I couldn't agree with more with what he said. He said, "My wish for my kids is to come home from school as excited on day 170 as they are on day 1." Yes. I think that's so true. You get all excited for that first day, and it's the same for teachers. I think all that build up for day 1. Can we do the same things on day 170? Right? That's a great point that Jim adds in there.
Speaking of Twitter, apparently there's just some discussion. I don't even really know what a shroud is. Apparently, Shaylin Farnsworth, thanks for chiming in. Mickey Miller, great to see you as well. Thin burial cloth enveloping and obscuring tragedy. Huh. That is not a word I would use for my beard.
Whatever. Are they calling your face an obscure tragedy?
I get that. That's a good one. Okay, Shaylin, I see that.
I think that's what's happening here.
Badura just posted too the lyrics. I've seen his. I think his wife has posted a link to this Slow Down. It's a music video that is. It's pretty good. Mm-hmm. And he just posted that. So thanks for doing that. Quick correction. I said it wrong. EduPodNet is the Twitter account. EduPodcastNetwork.com is the website. Either way, we're really proud to be here. We're excited to be here, and we'll get it right next time. It's only the first show. We can't set the bar too high on the first show. All right, let's move on. Dad moment of the week, gentlemen. I'm not even really going to go with this. Like, I had a new baby 2 weeks ago, and we've obviously got a lot of time. Dad moment of the week is not something that happened this week. Dad moment of the week is what we are sharing about what's happened since the last time we were here. We had a baby. It went well. Things were good. Everybody's healthy. That's all I got. Nothing can really top that. So I'll turn it over to one of you.
That's true. Go for it, Brent.
All right. So I was going to bring this up in our conversation, so I'm just going to roll with it. So my daughter started first grade, and took her first spelling test last week and got 100%. Of course, proud dad, and I'm all excited about it. I'm bragging on her. And I make a comment to her about, if she does it again next week, I'll take her to Target and buy her a gift, like an idiot. And she stresses about it throughout the week, goes to school on that Friday, takes the test, misses the word lunch because she left out in, so she gets 90%. So I guess in the vehicle on the way home with my wife, she's upset, uncontrollably crying. When I get home later that evening, she's not crying or anything, but immediately wants to tell me that she didn't get 100. And I look at my wife, who gives me this face of disdain, and I'm like, man, I screwed this up. So then I just was like, well, we're going to Target to buy you a gift anyway, and tried to save crow with that. But it made me think very much about the power of our words as dads, and certainly as teachers and everything, and educators. And I just again, kind of back to our beginning conversation, I just want her to feel successful, whatever that is, and I don't want it to be about chasing test scores, and I don't want her ever to think that that's what I think is most important. And unfortunately, I kind of fell trapped to her success and just wanted her to kind of keep that rolling. And I feel like I'm a new dad on a lot of levels, and I just was like, dang it, I screwed that up. So we went to Target anyway, and they love that. And they have piggy banks, all the kids, and so we pull quarters out of there, and I tell them, get 4 quarters, get 8 quarters, whatever, and I make that kind of a math thing, and then certainly I have to usually pitch in money for the things they want to get. But anywho, it was more of a learning moment for me, more so than anything else. But so I thought I would share.
Yeah, I'll go with probably something cliche. It'll be the back to school stuff, right? I said 5th and 7th grader. Well, when we went to back to school night for Claire, who's in 5th grade last week, and if any you guys who are friends with me on Facebook will probably remember this, but we went to 5th grade back to school night, which is at one of the schools that my wife works at, and she didn't happen to be at that school on that night. She had to be at the other elementary school. So Dad took both girls to back to school night, and as we're leaving, so we're there, we do all our thing, we drop our stuff off, we meet the teacher who we know. The teacher is a friend of ours, right? So we know who it is, and so we leave and we're driving home, and as I'm driving home, I get a text from Aaron that says, hey, make sure and take pictures at back to school night. And I was like, oh crap. So we took 3 or 4 pictures in the car on the way home and sent it to her. And then she turned around and posted those on Facebook, trying to, I don't know, somehow guilt me or shame me because of the pictures that I did or did not get on back to school night. But that was my dad moment of the week, is kind of failing at getting back to school night pictures with my 5th grader. So, sometimes just gotta roll with it, and that's what we did. We took pictures on the way home.
Sounds like someone who forgot to take pictures of back to school night saying that.
No, it was intentional. We did that on purpose. That was the plan all night long. So.
Oh, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first guest of season 4. We are very excited to welcome in Tony Sinanis, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. And Tony, I pulled up your Twitter account so that I could get the school district right, and I see that you just have the hashtag, so fail on me for not writing it down.
It's okay, no worries. It's Plain Edge School District on Long Island here in New York.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you could pick me up with that.
Is that my lead-in? Is that like my easy way into the conversation? I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That might be all I can contribute at this point. It's like 9:45 my time.
Oh, good. See, that's sometimes, especially the beginning of a season, we're not on our A game. But okay, let's be honest. Middle and end of the season, we don't have an A game. So, but anyway, Tony is brought to you by Soundtrap, the unofficial editing software of Dads and Ed. Check them out at soundtrap.com.
Nice.
Tony, in case you're wondering, they have no idea I just said that.
That's awesome. I was like,
This is one of those things that we did one time, and we thought it was really funny that we kind of forgot about it, so now we're coming back.
It's So this is
At
the
least,
A game. I like the A game.
Yep.
Downtrack and all.
Yeah, we're going first inning home run right here, man.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, so Tony, we were just talking a little bit about our dad moment of the week, something that's happened that we're really proud of. Obviously, you're a dad. I mean, you got to have that qualification to show up.
Yes.
So introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us what you do, and give us a dad moment of the week.
Oh gosh. Okay. So
No pressure. I tried to send this to you earlier, but I don't get like group direct messages on my phone, so it didn't get to you. This is where we go back down to the B game.
I was gonna say, wait, this is still A game? Or?
No. It's a sliding scale. Let's just go with it. We're not going to talk grading tonight, so
That's a good way to go. The sliding scale allows for progress. So.
That's right.
Okay, so yeah, I am Tony Sinanis, and I am a lead learner in Plain Edge Public Schools, which is here on Long Island, aka the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. And prior to that, I was an elementary school principal for 10 years. So, and before that, an elementary school teacher, both in New York City public schools and in some suburban districts on Long Island. So it's been a pretty awesome 19 years, which is kind of crazy. And I'm also a dad. I'm a dad to Paul, and he is 11 and, I don't know, like 3/4-ish. He's on his way to 12, and he thinks he's about 16. And he's going to 7th grade. And I can honestly say that every moment of my work as an educator is very much framed by the lens that I look at as a dad, right? And so I spoke to a teacher today, and I was like, she was talking about how stressed she was about her classroom and getting her classroom ready for the new school year and what it would be like. And she just had a baby this year, so it was like a new kind of experience for her. And I was like, listen, just create the classroom you want for your little boy, right? Like whatever you want your little boy to step into, make that the classroom you create for your students. And so I try to create a school or district or whatever that I would want for Paul. As for a dad moment, do we want like a not so great example of being a not great dad, or do you want?
Hey, you know what? Devin didn't take pictures of back to school night, so
right.
You're good.
That's
Either
right.
way.
Bar is set low.
Again, I'm gonna come on here more often if so I guess the highlight of the last few days was that Paul and I ventured into Manhattan twice so that we can go to Central Park so that he can hunt for Pokemon. And
Nice.
what I can say that the highlight for me was that Paul was walking and was being physically active, which was awesome because that's always a goal of ours. The low light for him was when we were standing amongst a crowd of people who I don't know, on a Friday afternoon I assumed would have jobs and not in the park. I made a comment out loud, and I guess it was louder than I thought it was, and I was like, yeah, people don't have jobs, they just run around the park looking for Pokemon, and Paul was like, oh my God, step away from me and don't talk to me for a little while. That was my highlight and my low light, as I say.
Very cool. Hey, Tony, I've read a lot of your guys' books, you and Joe, and I've enjoyed listening to some of your guys' stuff. And I'm very aware of your guys' passion for your students.
Thank you.
And what I want to ask is just what made this new role that you've taken on, the right one, to leave being a principal? Because it seemed as if you really enjoyed your role as principal.
That's a great question. Probably not one I have a great answer to. But the reality is, I felt like it was probably a twofold decision. One being that I wanted to see if the work that we had done at Caniag, and I felt like was really successful and positive, was scalable on a K-12 model, and on a K-12 scale. Sorry. What does that look like in a middle school? What does it look like in a high school or even another elementary school? So it was that challenge, and then the other piece was I love Caniag. It is the best school on the planet. It is the most incredible place to work. But I had been there for 8 years, and I was worried that maybe I was a little too comfortable, and so I was missing things that I may not have missed in the past. Like the critical eye wasn't as critical because things just became the norm. And not in a bad way. Norms were really great, but when you're in a space for so long, sometimes you maybe get a little comfortable, and I was worried that I wasn't doing what was best for our teachers there or our kids because I might have been too comfortable. So
So your new role is in your same district then?
No, no, it's not. It's
Okay.
a little bit down the road, about 10 minutes down the road. Similar district, similar size district, and so it's pretty cool to go to a new space and not really have any any history there, right? It's a fresh start. There are also some challenges though, because people I guess read my tweets and read my blog posts, and depending on who's reading them and the way they react, that's not always the best thing. But it's given me a space to just try things in a different way, even refine some of the ideas I tried in the past, like let's do it this way, and let's talk about it that way, and so pretty exciting opportunity.
Tony, I think that's interesting. You talk about you mentioned that people in this new district maybe have read your blog posts or read your tweets in this kind of time where people are more and more connected and sharing so much more. You kind of say that like it could have been a good thing, or it could have been a bad thing. Like, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know in the first book about branding, it's this idea that we really are putting all those things out there, but maybe what we don't realize is that sometimes then when we go other places, people have a really a much deeper understanding of maybe who we are.
Yes. Well, interestingly enough, I think they may have a deeper understanding, or they have developed perceptions based on what they think they understand, right? Based on what they've seen or whatever. And so I think it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but it doesn't change my philosophy, and I'm happy that I was as transparent as I was, because I walked into a space and everyone knew what I believed about homework. Everyone knew what I believed about standardized testing. Everyone knew about my personal journey as a gay educator and parent. Everyone knew about my son and his stuff, and so I felt like, as much as there were some questions about that and maybe some perceptions that I had to navigate, at least it was out there and people knew what they were getting. People knew where I was philosophically, and so that was a really positive thing. And people had read stuff, and there were people who were like, "Oh, I tried that in my school because I read what you wrote," or so it was kind of cool. Actually, on one of the interviews that I went on, one of the people in the room was like, "I can't believe I'm in the same room as the Tony Sinanis," and I was like, "Listen, I have never heard that. No one will ever, no one in my life will ever say that they are." It's more often like, "Oh God, here's Tony again," So to have someone like kind of be like, "Wow," but again, that goes back to that perception thing where it's like, the Tony Sinanis. I'm like, I'm no one. I'm an educator like you, and I've had the same number of years as you, and I'm a dad, and whatever. And so it was an interesting kind of experience for me as well, humbling on some levels.
Yeah, and on a kind of more specific note, one of my favorite things that I know you did when you were at CANIAG was your video updates with kids. And
Yeah.
I know it's one thing I've shared with lots of the principals that I have a chance to work with. Can you talk about how that came about and why you ended up doing it? What was the benefit?
Okay, so the best part about all this is that the parent of a kid that I tried this with in 2013, she sent me the link to the video that we made, that first video we ever made the other day, and I don't remember why. I don't know if she saw something that I posted on Twitter or on Facebook, and I was kind of reflecting on it, and I didn't have that. I couldn't even remember what the first video was, and the little boy's name is Zach, and he's in the video with me, and it was kind of like how do we tell people what's going on, but in a fun and cute way, right? And I'm not that cute, so I'm not going to be great at telling the story. How do we take that email or that newsletter and just make it a little more engaging? And Zach literally happened to be like in the hallway, and I was like, "Zach, what are you doing?" And I think at the time he might have been in third grade. I was like, "What are you doing in third grade? You want to tell people what you're doing?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, like make a video. He was like, "Okay," and he came and he sat with me, and we just did this sort of impromptu thing, which he got so excited about. It then just evolved into an experience that just took on a life of its own, but really empowered our kids to tell the story. And so it started from something small, and I'm sure I got the idea on Twitter in terms of like doing videos with kids. I don't remember where or who, so I can't give that person credit. But then the video update kind of evolved from that, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty great to watch our kids own it and be so excited about it.
Yeah, very cool.
One of the things that I want to bring up, Devin mentioned, your writing, and I know that you have a new book, Hacking Leadership, out. But before we get into the actual book, so we've met Joe Sanfilippo.
I'm sorry. Please do not judge me based on your.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. We have to give him credit. He has the most downloads for Dads and Ed guests from Wisconsin.
I was gonna say, wait, what's What's the scale there?
Qualify it.
What are we comparing it to?
And you guys have the Successful Schools podcast, which got me, I have to admit, it got me through a couple episodes, got me across northern Iowa this summer, so I appreciate that. But I also know that you don't really get the opportunity to talk a lot when Joe's around. So, this is a trusting circle here. You're welcome to say whatever you want to about Joe Sanfilippo, and we won't interrupt you. So, and Joe won't either. So we'll just preface that too.
Should I tell you that he's texting me as we're having this?
Okay, never mind. Sorry.
But, this is what you should all know about Joe Sanfilippo, is that I don't know if you've all had a chance to read the latest blog post he just wrote. He reflected on going back to his original district where he got his teaching career started, and he did a keynote for them. And one of his former second grade students, Colin, was in the audience now as a teacher, and he was able to reconnect with him, so many years later, or whatever, right? And so if you read that post that Joe wrote and you read into the emotion that's expressed there, and the passion that's communicated there, and the understanding that relationships are the key to everything that we want to do in education, that's Joe Sanfilippo. And so I can't even bust on him because it's not just the way I do things, and he's a douche sometimes, and I recognize that, and I still love him aside from that, because that's who he is, and he has taught me the value of those relationships and our ability as individuals to impact entire groups of kids and teachers and just with one exchange, with one word, whether, and for Joe, he's witty and funny, and so those things come easily to him. He's also obnoxious and silly, but those things are endearing at times for some people. And so showing me that you can connect with people in different ways is who Joe Sanfilippo is. And when you invest in people, they invest back, right, and they're willing to kind of work and grow with you. So I will go the high road here, where I had access to the low road, but I passed that exit. Let it be noted that I took the high road. That is Joe Sanfilippo.
Nice, well done. And all kidding aside, Joe was an absolutely fantastic guest, as many of them are. But I do want to actually be serious and talk about your new book that came out this summer, Hacking Leadership.
Thank you.
10 Ways Great Leaders Inspire Learning that teachers, students, and parents love. I am going to tweet it out from the Dads and Ed account on the Dads and Ed hashtag while you give us a little preview.
Sure, it's awesome. It's part of the Hack Learning series, that Mark Barnes is overseeing. He was one of the original authors. Him and Jen Gonzalez wrote Hacking Education, and then this whole notion that's where it was spawned, right? This idea of hacking the challenges in education, or the problems in education, or the stereotypes in education. There's hacking assessment, hacking writing, and hacking literacy, and hacking PBL is coming out soon. Just really wonderful group of educators who are excited to just reframe education and present it through a different lens. So things that people often qualify as a challenge, I feel like in this series we've had the chance to qualify them as an opportunity. And so in Hacking Leadership, we kind of tackle 10 different topics or hacks, everything from creating culture to shifting the control of school into the hands of kids from the adults, to passion projects for adults as a form of professional development, to telling your story, to eradicating the deficit mindset, everything in there. So there are 10 different hacks. And what I love about the series and I love about the book is that our heart and soul is in it, for sure. Both of our hearts and souls are poured into this book. But I love that we go through things that people can do tomorrow, like here, try this tomorrow. Then we write about things that people could do on a sort of longer scale or longer term and build capacity. And then we also offer pushback, because the reality is you can't just throw ideas out there and be like, yeah, this is going to work. There's going to be pushback. And so we go through some pushback scenarios and how to handle those as well.
And I'll mention real quick before I let Brent ask the next question. It's also on Twitter, hack_leadership.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so before I dig in there, so I see, Josh, are you following the YouTube Live thing? Because it's kind of new for us. I see Joe's chiming in. He just tweeted.
Oh, Jesus.
And he's got comments like crazy going over there. Our good friend Chris Nessie is excited about the new season, and I'm not following that feed. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Or down.
So
Go ahead.
let me just point this out. So a couple weeks ago, I try and keep up to date about what's going on with Google, and I see a blog post about Google Hangouts on Air going away. That's kind of an essential part of what we do in our show. Like, we have to have that.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of freaked out a little bit, spent a little bit of money trying to figure out how this whole YouTube Live thing works. Shout out to Mickey Mueller for pointing out that I'm an idiot, and Google Hangouts on Air now goes to YouTube. So actually, when the whole YouTube, when I started hearing myself in my head because I had YouTube on another page, I actually closed the window. So I didn't even know there was live comments going on. So, but looks like Joe, from his picture, is fully handling all of the comments that are going on there, which I don't think anyone's shocked by. Joe, it's great to see you, by the way.
It's not shocking considering that he's a superintendent, he's running a district, but he has time to be on this Facebook Live chat, and he is handling the comments. Not shocking at all.
What nights does Fall Creek have school board meetings?
Well, what nights does Fall Creek have school, period? I mean, apparently they're only in session every so often when Joe decides to, do that job.
It's a rain day, folks.
Yeah, it snowed like 3 inches, so we should stay home. But we can ride our tractors. Joe rides tractors to school. I don't know. Anyway.
If I recall, when Joe was on, didn't he cancel school from the hangout?
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. Well, because it was probably a Tuesday. And that's one of the days that they go to school.
Okay. I don't know, Brent. I don't know if you actually asked Tony a question or not, but
no, it's all good. It's all good. I've read the book. I just finished it up a couple weeks ago. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So if Joe's listening, we'll give him half the credit here. But
he's listening.
Sketchy, sketchy. Yes. No, but really enjoyed it. Looking forward to sharing it with folks in my district and trying to get them to read it as well. What was, maybe, I'm kind of curious, as a bucket list item for me, writing a book. You guys have now done a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Easy, hard. Just give us some ideas. I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there that could share some good stuff that maybe hesitate to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit on that, and anything else you want to talk about with the. Oh, and then real quick, please, Lem. Started up school around then, and that you did over the weekend. I'm kind of curious about some of that stuff too.
Okay, I missed the latter part. You froze on my end, so I'm sorry. I didn't hear the second question. So
I'll let you roll.
All right, so let me think about the first, because I may forget the question by the time. That's what happens when it's 10 p.m. and you've been up since 4 a.m. Okay, so the writing process. I think we've been blessed. Joe and I have been blessed to have the opportunity to write a book, and I don't think it's something that is in itself impossible for anyone to do. I think anything from self-publishing to some amazing educators out there who are excited to publish from their own publishing houses to companies like Routledge and Corwin and whatever. There's so many opportunities, and I think there are so many important voices that need to be heard, right? And so we were just blessed to have the opportunity to have a voice, and it started because of Peter DeWitt, who at the time was transitioning out of a principalship in upstate New York and started doing some guest editor kind of work for Corwin, and he gave us this space to try out this idea of branding, and that really came from Joe. Joe was really thinking about the notion of branding, and we started talking about it because we were doing similar work, and no one had really framed it for me as branding, and so that led to the first book, and it's really about it's a result of the connections that we had, right? So because we knew Peter through Twitter, and because I had met Peter, I had met Peter, the tweeter, and Joe may have as well. I don't even know, but we just talked, and the ideas were there, and it really just the impetus for a lot of the writing was from blog posts that we had already written. So we were already in the reflective process, I feel like, as bloggers, and so we had some of the foundation for the writing initially. That led to a second book very quickly. We wrote a book that most people don't know that much about, but we wrote Principal Professional Development in Digital Age, Leading Learning in a Digital Age, because we wanted to shed some light on the importance of principals and educational leaders learning as well, not seeing themselves as some sort of finite entity that does not need to learn and grow anymore. That came pretty quickly. In terms of the Hacking Leadership book, that was something we had kind of thought about for almost a year and a half, and we were thinking about it in different ways. And I'm very fortunate to work with Joe because he's amazing, and he's a gifted writer, and we're very fortunate in that our voices kind of blend in writing, and I don't know that people can really tell which one is me and which one is him, except for the Canny Eye reference or the Fall Creek reference. And so it was really it was not a very hard process, but I will say this book I feel like was the easiest of the three to write because our hearts and our souls were, and I mentioned it earlier, but they were there. They were like at the forefront of the process, and we basically opened up a Google Doc. We created a table of contents. We kind of framed them a little bit. Maybe we wrote a page about each chapter, and then we just divvied it up. And it was like, all right, you write these 5, I write these 5, and let's see how they kind of merge together. So the process was not that daunting, but when you write a book, you do have to be ready for really critical feedback from your editor, and we got torn to shreds, which was great. Because there were moments where I was like, screw that, I'm not writing this book, I don't care anymore, it's done. You're like, I don't want to do it.
Right.
But then you're like, wait, right? This is what we expect our kids to go through. This is what we expect our teachers to go through, to get feedback and see it as an opportunity to learn and grow, not as a place to stop, because it's not what you agreed with necessarily. And so it was a really great and powerful. And I have to give a shout out to Ruth, our editor, and Mark Barnes for giving us the opportunity to write that book. But Ruth was like awesome, and she helped us refine our thinking and enhance our thoughts and our points. So it was a pretty amazing process. So yeah.
I do want to chime in, and this kind of goes with what Brent was asking about on YouTube Live, now knowing that there are comments there. Thanks for Rob Linquist for also checking in, and Chris Nessie for saying hi. Joe points out, where'd it go? Write a book with your best friend, you won't regret it. So I think that's a great point. If to take all that constructive feedback and deal with it, and like he says a little bit later down, that it's the easiest to write and hardest. The concepts part was easy, but the feedback, was tough. And I think you're right. If you have someone that you respect and like you said, the similar voice, it makes having to go through all that a lot easier.
Yeah, there's trust at the core. Yeah. And so I knew that whatever I wrote, Joe was going to look at it, with a critical eye, but respectful of where I was coming from, and he knew where I was coming from, and vice versa. And it was never about either one of us as individuals. It was about us collectively, really just trying to contribute something to help change the landscape of education, right? And to make it more positive, to make it really focused on the amazing things that are happening in our schools, because there are so many amazing things that are happening in our schools, and not just in Fall Creek and at Canny Eye, not just at Plainage now, but in all our schools, and so that's not where the spotlight was. And so I think that was also a very big, important part of that process for us, was bringing that to the forefront, was shedding light on all that awesomeness.
I loved the way just the layout of the book and the ease at which to read it, in the sense of just a principal getting ideas, or any lead learners getting ideas on some thoughts, or challenging their thinking on some of the processes. So very well done. I just want to shout that out.
Thank you. And I do want to say that was part of the process, and Mark helped us with that. We wanted to make it accessible to everyone. So whatever it is you wanted to take from it, take from it. And it is research-based, because it's based on all the action that we took in our spaces, or other other educators contributed in the process. So it's not maybe it wasn't based in research in 1985 or 1995 or 2005. It might have been based in research in 2014 or 15 or 16, and that was really important to us to redefine what a research-based text looks like, because it's action research. That's what we do every day as educators. We take data from all places and we put it together to make decisions. That's research, to inform our practice through data. So
very cool. Tony, the kind of the whole premise of us starting this show was thinking about this intersection of parenting and being educators, and you kind of started to touch on this right away at the beginning. But one thing we always are interested in is kind of how the two have influenced each other. So how being an educator has influenced the way that you parent, and how being a parent has influenced the way that you educate.
I don't think there's any decision I make as an educator that's not influenced by Paul or by my role as a dad. Every single decision I make, you know, whether it's we're talking about a program that we want to bring into a school, whether we're talking about a meeting with a family where a parent is irate or not, you know, excited, whether we're talking about an issue with a kid and a mistake maybe they made and how we handle it, or an opportunity to a teacher and how we can remove barriers to make things happen. Paul is like the impetus for all of that. Every little thing that I do in my job, in my role as an educator, is informed by my son and by the interactions I have with him, the relationship I have with him, and what he offers to me from his world, you know, and thinking about, well, would I want this for Paul? Would I want him to have access to this? Or, all right, and Paul sometimes, unfortunately, is like my guinea pig, so I'm like, all right, you can have a Snapchat account, even though I don't know how to use it, and I'm not sure that I really want you to have one. But what a better way to learn than by, you know, putting it in your hands to see if it can really help us in education. And on the flip side, as an educator, I drive Paul crazy because I pick him up from school and I'm like, so what'd you do in, you know, reading today, or what was your, you know, the focal point of your math lesson? And he's like, really, can we just have a conversation about lunch and recess, or, you know, or gym or whatever? Yeah. So it definitely spills over into my world. But the other thing is, when you're an educator, I find that I'm surrounded by such amazing moms and dads, like not only our kids' parents, but our teachers, right? A lot of them have their own kids at home. And it just becomes these conversation points informally throughout the day that are pretty awesome, you know, where you're like, oh, wow, that's how you handle that? Or, oh, your kid is going through that too? Or, oh, you know, this is driving me crazy, and whatever. And so that work as an educator has also influenced me as a parent, because I can talk to my colleagues, I can talk to my peers, and really kind of just brainstorm together to do as a parent. So, yeah, they're very much intermingled. I don't know that I could even tease the two apart at this point.
I to your point about you know, your questions of Paul, Rob Linquist, who hosts the Run Iowa podcast, just put on the YouTube live comments that 3 days into first grade, and his daughter is already tired of the questions, just like Paul's tired of Tony's questions.
I mean, Paul will literally, if I pick him up with a friend, he will do the whole, you know, doesn't move his mouth, but he's like, don't ask me school questions. And I'm like, okay, so I don't ask any school questions. I'm not allowed. And I get it, you know, because some nights I come home and I don't want to talk about work, you know. And so I think about that time sometimes when Paul gets in the car. He doesn't want to talk about school, and that's okay, you know. And Paul, unfortunately, also, my partner, is an elementary school principal, so you can imagine what the dinner conversations are like here. They're not always, I don't know, the most kid-friendly conversations, you know, but it's great because Paul will listen in sometimes, and we talk about the things that we're struggling with, I don't even know, with a teacher or with professional development or whatever, and Paul will offer his perspective, and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, you know, that's a good idea. I won't tell the teacher that, you know, the decision was made by an 11-year-old, but thanks. Yeah, he's unfortunately suffering with, you know, parents that talk about education all day.
Well, Tony, we appreciate you having spending some time with us tonight. We do know that it is an hour later out on the coast than it is here. Do you have time to stick around, or do you need to get going?
I'm good for like another 10 minutes, but if I pass out, you know why. So.
Okay. Well, we have totally revamped the format of all this, so we think this is going to go a little bit quicker than it has in the past. So the 10 minutes should be just about right. So, Brent, your first contribution to our new end of show.
Yeah, so we're switching it up a little bit, and I got to choose between a blog post, article, or book that I wanted to share about. We've talked a lot about hacking leadership. If we didn't have Tony on, I would be sharing about that book, but I've already done that, so I'm not going to beat that dead horse any further. So I got thinking about, and it was kind of perfect timing. There's a principal in my district of an elementary school, a pretty large elementary school, by the name of Amber Miller, who is battling some cancer things.
Okay.
And her blog is called Cheesecake and Chocolate, and the actual address is Cheesecake and Chalk, so short CHOC, not the entire word of chocolate.blogspot.com. And she has been blogging about her journey with all of it, and just made a new post tonight because she just went through some pretty major pieces and surgery and things to remove lymph nodes. And I cannot stress enough, like, just how I take so much stuff for granted with my health and things. And here's a person dealing with so much. She has 2 children. She's divorced, and has that situation going on with the boys, and battling this, let alone trying to lead a school. And certainly her staff has been terrific. But I just wanted to shout her out. Her strength has just been amazing. She is bald, which for a woman, I can only imagine the struggle that might be for someone like her, having to wear hats and kind of being embarrassed of it and all of that stuff. So there's just so much about what we do in education where we don't always pay attention to or be willing to listen to people and kind of not be selfish. And so I'm kind of thinking and praying for her, and I just wanted to shout her out. And actually, her blog is just an awesome journey of, I'm hoping it has a really good ending and everything works out well, but it's amazing that someone's willing to be that reflective and transparent with the struggle that they're in, and I admire it. So I just wanted to share that out, and I'll tweet it into our hashtag. And if you guys get a minute to tweet her, she's Amber. Hold on, I'm sorry, I had it. Amber Miller 314. So, anyways, she's an amazing gal and a great educator, friend, and I'm just hoping for the best for her.
Very cool. Absolutely. Next up, so one of the things that we wanted to do this year is also throw out some video in YouTube. There are phenomenal videos going on. When you think about what engages kids and teachers, video is a fantastic way to do that. And one that I just shared from the Dad's Net account and on the hashtag is it's an older one. Have you guys seen the Rita Pearson Every Child Needs a Champion TED Talk?
Great.
It's only 7.5, 8 minutes long. It's extremely short, but as I was sitting down thinking of something that has impacted me this year, we're working through some anxiety issues with our oldest, especially just getting to school. And I mean, I don't blame him. I love being at home too, but we got to get to school. And so I mentioned at the beginning just how much we love the teachers that they have this year. And Danielle and Sarah, who has been a friend of mine for years, she's not on Twitter, but she's still a good teacher. She's just been fantastic working with us, just trying new ideas and seeing what we can do to make things better. And she and other staff at our school have definitely been a champion for our kids. When I know that there's a lot of kids that need help and probably have a lot more serious issues, but they take the time and they do some fantastic things to make sure that my kids enjoy their school day and enjoy school, kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning. So, oldie but a goodie. I love watching it. I watch it every now and then, when it comes up again. But it is a fantastic video if you haven't seen it before. All right, so we have come to the end of this show. So can I do a little out after this, Devin?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would assume so, right?
All right. You give us a little insight into what's coming next.
So one thing that we're going to try
Tony thinks this is going to be huge. Tony's like, I am on the ground floor.
Wait, I need to say this one thing, Josh. I'm not quite sure what that white thing is near your face. I'm assuming it's a microphone.
Yeah, it's a snowball.
It's awesome. It looks like some sort of UFO. I'm mesmerized by it the entire time I've been on. I'm just
for the last 15 years, blue snowball microphone has been my go-to mic. I love it.
I'm gonna look into that. I need a mic for work, so that's awesome.
They're pretty inexpensive. and
I,
plug
I,
and play.
I love it. I did have a moment where I thought it was like a fan, and you were going for like a Beyonce, J Lo.
Let the beard blow in the breeze.
He would do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and all seriousness, it's got like 3 settings. So like the middle, the second setting blurs out like all the background noise. So like video recordings, I use that.
Wow.
But then setting 3, I don't know the big words for it, but it lets this be a microphone too.
Nice.
So if you've got I don't know, if it's multi-directional, I don't remember exactly, but like Reader's Theater, group work, if you want to record a group, you set it down in the middle, it records the whole thing. It's a fantastic microphone. Cheap too.
What is it called? You said name?
The Blue Snowball.
Awesome.
Josh, you have to preface Devin's thing since he's finishing it up. He can't preface it and then start.
Do you want me to preface it? Well, I'll just preface it. We'll make that work, right? So
Okay.
Act like there's rules on this show, Cat.
There are no rules. That's exactly
A game. Don't forget.
Yeah, we keep it at least an A- here.
So we got rid of kind of the Twitter and the app and all that stuff we were doing last time. We're going to finish the show on something that I think we're going to call Mic Drop, and it's just one of us each time is going to have 30 to 60 seconds just for some commentary on whatever issue that we want. And so that's kind of how we'll end shows. No discussion about it. That'll have to be off the air. But that's just kind of how we'll finish. So mine, we'll do this, and then Josh, you will have it out. You'll take us out after that. Okay? All right.
Here we go.
So, Colin Kaepernick's recent decision to sit during the national anthem in protest of racial oppression caused kind of the swift and vocal outrage online. The internet was set afire, videos of folks, burning his jersey, along with a flurry of memes where people made really quick snap judgments regarding Kaepernick's decision. And I'm not spending this few seconds to support his decision on what he's doing, but I do want to take this time to support his right to do so, and to talk about 2 important ideas I think we should consider when we deal with kids on a daily basis. And those are questioning and empathy. Right? Asking questions followed by more questions helps us better understand the difficult issues that we face every day. There's a great quote in the book I'm reading right now. It's called Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. It's all about kind of race. And Coates says, and he was kind of talking about him trying to better understand the history of his people. And in this quote, he says that there was a constant questioning as a ritual, questioning as exploration rather than the search for certainty. It's that last part about questioning for exploration that I think when practiced and maybe perfected can lead to a better understanding of issues and maybe kind of a less of a rush to judgment. And then the second idea is really around a substantial increase in empathy. I will never know what it's like to be African American, just like I'll never know what it's like to be Hispanic or to be a woman. But when I start to consider kind of all of these issues from different perspectives, I start to get a better understanding of the decisions that people make, and I think that matters. So as Colin Kaepernick deals with the criticism that naturally comes with making a protest public, I hope that people can ask the questions needed to explore these issues more deeply and to look at things from a different perspective, because I know that's kind of what I want my kids to do.
Nice. With that, we are back in 2 weeks with Dave Guyman. Tony, thank you again for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks,
It was a
Tom.
great time. You guys rock. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
All
Tony.
right, we'll see everyone on the 12th.
Peace. Thank you.